Dear friends of Powershoots TV, positive energy in Europe. I'm today in the European Commission and it's really my pleasure to welcome the Director General for Transport and Mobility, Henrik Hololei. Welcome.
Thank you, Alexander. Always a pleasure to be with you.
Yes, difficult times, strange times, so I'm very happy that we can sit again together. And yes, the last year, transport world, we did not talk about it, we did not hear about in the media, we did not hear a lot about Europe in these times, but a lot happened. And please explain us a little bit in the transport sector, where this is your specialty, how we say, what happened really, and maybe have also some positive news in all that, a little bit technical and also the benefit for citizens.
Well, I think that there are a lot of positive news that actually can be shared, but let's go back a bit more than 1 year and let's look at the 1.5 last years. So this has been a time where we have gone through a very difficult period for the transport and mobility sector. And in fact, the transport and mobility sector was there every day. It was every day in the news because there were no possibility to travel. There was no possibility to hop on a train, take a plane. And of course, we people who are so much attached to connectivity, who want to go around in Europe, in the world, to see friends, to see family, to just connect, to see around, to widen your perspectives, were suddenly stranded and we had to fight a very vicious virus. But looking from the positive side, today we are in the second half of July and we have 2/3 of Europeans who are vaccinated with 1 shot, more than half of the European vaccinated with 2 shots, so fully vaccinated, which also shows that we are starting to open up. Just today I got the latest figures about aviation. 70%, we are now 70% of the pre-COVID levels, which shows that the flying is picking up. It shows that people are traveling again, and it's also giving people the possibility to see those places that they so much love in Europe and elsewhere. First and foremost in Europe. Why is it possible also? Well, of course, because of the good speed of vaccinations, but that's not the only thing. I think this is also because we have taken the steps to facilitate travel. A huge game changer from the beginning of July has been the digital COVID certificate, which allows people who are either vaccinated, who have the negative PCR test, or who have done the antigen test and have antigen in their bodies, to travel far more freely and predictably within Europe. This is a very positive development, and this is also opened up to travel that we were so much looking forward to. And so I see the light in the end of the tunnel. Yes, I think we all need to do our utmost and get people vaccinated in order not to be trapped again with the 3rd, 4th wave, whatever we have. But that's the only way to do it, is really to have people going to vaccinate and also asking their friends and family to do the same. Coming back to the transport challenges, during the time when we also had to make sure that the goods are able to move in Europe, we came out with the green lanes. Green lanes was a huge innovation because it allowed us to save the single market. Because at some moment, 1.5 years ago, March 2020, suddenly the goods were stopping on the borders, which almost would have meant that even the industry should have closed down. That didn't happen because the green lanes allowed the trucks to cross borders around 15 minutes. And I think this was also a positive thing. When we are under stress, we can come out with good solutions. But most importantly, these have to be pan-European solutions implemented by member states and benefiting us all who are part of the European family. We also worked very hard, and I think it's also positive to come out in the end of last year with a strategy for sustainable and smart mobility. Because even if we come back to the pre-COVID situation, we need to build back better. We need to build back sustainably. We have the European Green Deal. Transport must cut 90% of its emissions. So it means that it is very important that the transport will focus on its sustainability, but at the same time also making sure that it will embrace the smart solutions. Our strategy gives the framework for the next decade and beyond, but it also creates an enabling framework with incentives, which allows then the market also to set the best possible solutions. And of course, last but not least, we have just adopted the Fit for 55, which also includes 4 key proposals that we from the transport and mobility sector were putting on the table. And I think that this also creates a very strong push in order to support the implementation of the strategy, deliver on the Green Deal, and make sure that transport is going to build back better, sustainably and smarter.
For my second question, you used already a lot of times very enthusiastic the word the European Green Deal. Many people, citizens, don't know what is it exactly and how it affects then, for example, the private life of citizens.
I mean, first and foremost, European Green Deal means that we will be a carbon neutral continent by 2050. And for us in the transport sector, it means that we need to cut the transport emissions 90%, which is really a huge task because we are in the middle of a process of transformation. But we should also not be derailed. Let's also keep in mind that this is an industrial strategy as well. It actually is there to accelerate the European transformation and transmission into a more efficient economic model that is also there to support the innovation, to create the enabling framework, and also to have the tools which allow the European companies to come out with new solutions, which would then, of course, clearly be our competitive advantage with the rest of the world. There is no doubt that there is a general global move towards more sustainable economy, towards more sustainable solutions. The digital systems help us to achieve it, including increasing the efficiencies. But obviously, it will be, again, the businesses who have to come with these solutions. We need to help them. So let's not only see this as something that we make the European greener. This is something which comes with the process. It also to make Europe more competitive in the longer run and to be in the forefront of global transformation, and to also help to develop the technologies which then allow us to benefit from that. Of course, for people, it also means a lot to change their mindset, to change their habits. And we have seen some of it already happening. We will see that during the COVID, for example, so much more people have opted for personal solutions or personalized solutions when we talk about moving around in the cities. We have so many new solutions, be it the e-bikes or be it the e-scooters and all other kinds of things which have come as a normal part of our street life. And that also means that we change a bit the way we move around. And most important is that these are actually clean solutions. And I think this is a very positive development, again, from that perspective. Because in the end of the day, we all want to live in the cities which are cleaner, where you can breathe a better air, where you actually have a higher quality of life. And we want to prove with a Green Deal as well that having a modern, industrialized, innovative economy and living in a better environment are not things which don't come together, but rather should be seen as complementary in the future. And I think we all want this to ourselves, but equally to our children and our grandchildren. So I think people also need to do a lot on their part. I think it is very important to see that when we talk about sustainability, we mean actually the environmental sustainability, but equally the economic sustainability and the social sustainability. Because let's also be honest and frank, there will be additional costs. But it is very important that we would be able to mitigate these costs, and in particular when it comes to the lower income groups in the society. This is the European task. Europe has always been very much attached to a high social protection level. And part of the Green Deal, part of the transformation must also be not to leave anybody behind. There, I think our politicians and our regulators should not fail, because only then we can move all together and also being able to set up a more competitive, sustainable and smarter Europe.
Great. Maybe it's not really a question. If you would like to talk about a project, about anything you really like, where you are a very enthusiastic person, you would like to talk about very shortly, the floor.
I think we have a lot of very interesting new developments. And again, when I look in the context of the package of Fit for 55, then the proposals that we put together in DG Move under the leadership of Commissioner Valean, I think these are positive proposals. What we are going to change, of course, is how transport is going to be powered. We would like to see that the sustainable transport fuels will become much more of a norm in aviation, in maritime, but also that we would be able to build up a well-functioning charging system, taking care of the chicken and the egg problem, have also a well-functioning refueling system, enabling also the use of new solutions like, for example, green hydrogen. And this is essential because transport sector can never become clean if we don't detach it in a gradual and also, I would say, proportionate way with a normal time frame to away from the hydrocarbons, and move it into the clean fuel solutions, which today are actually quite expensive. But that's why we need to build up a scale, we need to build up the necessary infrastructure, and we need to have the proposals like we put on the table, which would actually make the operators also to use these fuels gradually, so that by 2050 we would reach the levels which means that our transport is already clean. And I think this is very important, as together with the innovation. I'm so much enthusiastic when I also see the world's largest aircraft manufacturer, Airbus, now looking into the possibilities for developing a aircraft by 2035, which would be powered by green liquid hydrogen. These are huge steps, and these can be game changers, and this could also very much maintain a strong European position in the global economy, being a trendsetter, and of course getting the first movers advantage. I think what we need to do really is try to enable our industry, because industry means jobs. Industry means high quality jobs. Industry means also income. And we should never forget that also, that it's the economic activity which in the end of the day brings the money that governments would be able in the end to redistribute in order to have a more equal societies. And this is something that Europe is also about. But when we talk about it, let's not forget that Europe is built also on a European cooperation, but a very strong single market, which is at the heart of Europe. And Europe is also built on a very strong industrial base, which also includes, of course, what we have now in the new economies. And I think what we do here in the Commission has to support that and has to take that into account. I'm very happy that things that we do here in DG Move are very much in sync with these elements.
Last question, maybe difficult to respond. The future of Europe. I know that at the end now, and after summer, there are a lot of discussions, conferences here in Brussels and all over Europe, that even the citizen can talk about the problems, about the future of Europe. How do you think will be the future of Europe? Nobody really knows, but you personally?
Alexander, I mean, I think that this is one of those things that you can talk forever. I have been in so many different events in my life to talk about the future of Europe, and even more so, I was part of the conference for the future of Europe that was running from 2002 to 2003, the so-called convention. So I have participated in that. I have participated in the work of putting on the table the so-called constitutional treaty, which in the end was modified to the Lisbon Treaty. And there are so many different views about how Europe should develop. And whatever we want and see, life also makes its own corrections. I think what is very important for the future of Europe is to maintain the solidarity in Europe, because it is what binds Europe together. I think this is essential. We shouldn't make artificial divisions between north and south, east and west, richer and poorer. I think we should all strive to make Europe as a strong entity, but maintaining, of course, your national identities and also maintaining your specificities, which also is Europe is known about. It is sometimes considered by some as a weakness of Europe because it doesn't allow us to integrate in a way that many would like. On the other hand, I see it is the strength. It is what actually makes Europe Europe. And I very much liked at the time when we worked with the constitutional treaty, when we came up with the idea of united in diversity. That is exactly what Europe is. And the point is that we want to maintain this diversity because this is also the richness. I want to see Europe which is strongly based on the principles of market economy, strong single market, strong industrial base, and also strong sense of innovation. This is very often forgotten. The voice of business is not so much heard in Brussels and sometimes even ignored. This is wrong. Europe has always been a very strong power base for the economic development. It has developed also the highest quality of life in the world. And in order to maintain it, it has to continue to innovate. But it also has to be a place for businesses to do business and to benefit from this world's most advanced and also most demanding single market. I want to see this also as part of the future of Europe, not to be forgotten, not to be overtaken by some new elements, what we talk about, and not forgetting what is actually is working and what is very important also to maintain Europe as it is. And of course, last but not least, we all know that the differences, but at the same time the similarities, the economy, which all brings us together, but it brings us together because of a set of values that has always been considered as European values. You can't say that you must define them one way or another. Yeah. But it is something which should be in the back of the mind, which has always driven Europe to go forward and has always been attractive for many countries to be part of Europe and to adhere with these values. The role of law, democracy, freedom of press, freedom of property rights, and so on. And you can have a long list. And this list is not ending, it is just ongoing. Yeah. I think these are the kind of things we also need to maintain, need to fight for them, and make sure that this remains as one of the key pillars for European cooperation also in the future.
Great, really. You explained again the whole Europe. Because you see, what I always do with positive energy in Europe, it's just to take out some positive points. But I think the keywords you mentioned already is really what we saw in the last year. It's, for example, a word like solidarity. It's really working together. And what another thing we don't talk about it at the moment is Europe. We're still living in peace.
That is self-evident. Alexander, you are absolutely right, because this is so forgotten completely. We don't talk about it enough, because the younger generation, they have no idea what a war is. I mean, we don't have any heads of state who has anything to do with that anymore, or a prime minister or what have you. So this is not to be taken for granted. Yeah. Corona has taught us that free movement of people, which everybody took for granted in Europe, it can't be any other way, can be other way. The free movement of people, who would have thought 2 years ago that there will not be a free movement of people in Europe, and we still haven't restored it in its entirety? Nobody would have believed that. The unthinkable has become thinkable. So if people think that war in Europe is impossible, then I would say there is nothing impossible. But it is impossible if we remember it all that, and if we also work for the benefit of it, that it will never happen again.
Yeah, really. No, thanks, Director General, for your time, and thanks everybody outside for listening. I mean, the only thing I can say, we just stay positive. Whatever happens, we go always straight. And I think that what you give, you will also get back. So I wish you all a great summer, a great end of the year. Stay healthy. Bye-bye.
Stay well, stay in good spirits, and as Alexander says, stay positive. But from Corona perspective, be negative.
Thank you.